How's it going, everybody? In today's video, we're going to be going over the top 5 war alternative teams, which is basically like a meta defensive team that we're going to be plugging in some sort of X factor that really changes how things operate. Or maybe we'll be plugging in a power couple, and that's going to really change how things operate. I'm also going to show you how we beat these teams. It is going to be one-shots. There's really only 1 or 2 unbeatable variant teams, and I mean, we'll show that too, but everyone knows what those are. But you know what everyone doesn't know? These new promo codes. Let's go ahead and let's talk about some promo codes to make sure you get those rewards before they are no longer available. Alright, so before we get into the meat and potatoes of this video, I just want to give a quick shout out to these promo codes. And honestly, Scopely's doing a lot with promo codes lately, which I think is good, way past due. But if you go ahead into the website and you plug in Assemble into the new player gift section of the website, you're going to get this gift, which is going to be 10 of the truly awful Thanos orbs, but 300 milestone points towards the current web milestone event, which is going to net you a few extra Gladiator shirts. So I think that's great. And yesterday there was another promo code, DREAM, D-R-E-A-M, and that gave you very little gold, a little bit of training materials, and like 50 shards of some super old year 1 characters. But hey, free stuff is free stuff. Make sure you head on over to the web store, collect that stuff using the new player tools. When you click on your character portrait in the top right, you're going to see new player gift in that drop down menu and get some free stuff. All right, let's get into some war counters. All right, let's get this show started just by talking about the Alpha Flight team. So the Alpha Flight team, the Canadian boys, kind of been a huge letdown, right? I don't think that is that's not outlandish thing to say. They've not been the best received war defense team, because that's what they are. I guess they're kind of a spotlight raid team. Lots of good plug and play power. But they're easily defeated by a bunch of teams, including the new Annihilators team. Now, this looks like a giant punch down, but it's not, right? The power differential is very much attributed to the new stats. So Annihilators can come in and beat them, and the reason Annihilators does this is because of the endgame Thanos stripping all their buffs, and then away they go, right? But there are definitely ways to soup this team up to make them much more difficult, which we're going to talk about. But first, let's see how the Annihilators do this, just so you know where we're coming from. So North Star, he flips everything, but then Ultimus does get the speed bar, and then he's going to go ahead, flip everything back, and now our Thanos is protected enough that he could take a hit from that Guardian. Now, mind you, this is a 3-star Thanos. He survives that hit really well. His passive then procs, and then it's kind of our fight to lose at that point. So if you want to soup up your Alpha Flight team, there's definitely a couple solutions to that. The main one is kind of, we're seeing a lot of Skrull being added in. So Skrull, and we're always removing Wolverine from this case. In fact, we remove Wolverine and Sunfire when we talk about the next one, which I don't have footage for, but we can still talk about it. Here's your Kraken option. Illuminati with Apocalypse will take care of this one, right? I don't think that is very viable for a lot of people, and even then, it's not completely safe. If the Skrull were to put the ability block on Hank, you're pretty much done, because if Hank doesn't go before North Star and get Safeguard up on his team, then North Star does flip everything into defense down and slow, and you are screwed. You are really screwed. So this is definitely not the safest one to take, but it does work on a, you know, what is that, 75% success rate? No, it's more than that. 80% success rate. Once you get that done, then it's kind of free from here. If you don't have the Cabal, or sorry, Captain Britain Illuminati, then you're kind of looking at maybe using your Mercs for money here. And that's a big loss, right? Your Mercs for money definitely just wipes the floor with this. You are at least still getting Skrull and Alpha Flight out of the way, but it's costing you a lot more. I don't think that's going to surprise anybody here. Other options that we've seen are going to be Ares and Doom. That really hurts the 4-piece out of time counter to base Alpha Flight, right? You end up pushing that... you end up pushing the Doom, which brings someone for a ride, which is kind of the same thing with just the straight Annihilators. So Annihilators against Ares Doom, well, first of all, Ares steals all your buffs, so you're no longer protected with the taunt from Gladiator. And then he's also potentially going to be putting some nasty ability block and stun on you. And he's also, well, then Doom could go for the ride if Thanos passive pushes Doom. right? Doom goes for the ride. He brings North Star. He brings whoever the case may be. And it's a much harder match from there. So that's how you can kind of juice up your Alpha Flight. Mercs for Money will beat both of those variants. So throwing that out there. But Mercs for Money is going to be the counter to a lot of things we're going to talk about in this video. And unfortunately, we don't all get 10 Mercs for Money when it comes to war. The Spider Society team. The new cockroaches of Marvel Strike Force, just in spider form. Now, there's a lot of ways to beat just the regular Spider Society team, right? Like Gamma APOC gets it done pretty healthily. We've seen Underworld come and beat it up. In fact, we're going to talk about Underworld getting countered, particularly by Black Cat right above me here, but working if there's Justin America Chavez. And those are the two characters that really throw a wrench into the regular counters for the Spider Society with the current rules, the war rules, right? When the war rules are gone, it's going to change a lot of things. But with Black Cat and America Chavez there, it becomes very difficult. Black Cat, obviously, taking the speed up on spawn from characters like your Undying, like your Gamma, which throws everything into chaos. Because if your Apocalypse and your Red Hulk don't get to go super fast, then there's a chance that Pav is going to ruin your day. He can just one-shot people. When he gets to his ultimate, or if he rebounds chains too much on his special, he can absolutely rip your team apart, and it gets super sketchy with the insane power levels. Now, if there's not a Black Cat, instead we see Ghost Spider here instead of Black Cat, a team that does spawn with speed up on spawn that is Bio, the Undying team, they're great here. You know, the whole idea is you just come in, you put ability block on one person, and then you spread it. Robbie Reyes and Emma are clearly the best 4th and 5th here. I mean, if you're using Black Cat on defense, you got to find a place to use your Secret Defenders. Robbie's amazing here, and then Photon is with the Secret or the Alpha Flight, A-Force, with the A-Force team at that point. And these are by far the best characters. It's going to give you the turn advantage that you need, but it's also going to give you a second ability block. Because with your Robbie, you can ability block Pav, or you can ability block Peter B, and then with your Zim, you can put a ability block on somebody else, because if we focus the same target too much, we could end up pushing them into stealth. If they don't have that disrupt yet, they go into stealth. We don't get to spread ability block. It is not fun, and that's what happens if there is a Black Cat here. We don't get to go first. We get stuck behind the disrupt, and it is an absolute nightmare. Now, if there is a Black Cat, the way to get around that ain't cheap. We're looking at the Sinister Six team with Superior Six team with Shocker and Electro. These are older characters. These are like veteran luxury characters or big spender characters. Now, how this works, Lizard puts a vulnerable up on Pav and then hit away from Pav, because you just put vulnerable on him. Make sure Lizard is a skirmisher. Hit away from him, put a different vulnerable up there. Goblin, for whatever reason, when he hits with his ultimate, it won't actually strip the vulnerable, and he'll do a follow-up attack, and that helps you get the Pav killed. From there, if you don't have a giant Electro like I do, then you're going to want to use the the special from Electro to finish off the Pav. I didn't have to here because I wasn't doing a giant punch-up. And then from there, you're able to just kind of sustain your way through Penny and Peter, and you get the win from there. This is, again, a luxury team that people like in the mid game won't have. Like I showed how Annihilators beat Alpha. That is a team that I lean on heavily in the mid game. I can't lean on either of the teams we just showed in my mid game account, and I face Spider Society all the time in war. Once again, all of a sudden, I'm looking at using, I'm looking at using Mercs for Money, or I'm getting even crazier with it. And I'm looking to use Ares with Apocalypse, which is such a crazy expensive counter, but it's one that I've had to learn to lean into. So let me try and pull that one up for you real quick. And you see, this is a giant punch up. We're now not punching across. We're not punching down. We're doing a million punch up because my Brawn is like purple gear. And I think my Hulk might also be purple gear, but he's not even built up enough that he actually has Taunt on spawn, which I didn't know before taking this fight. But the whole way this works is we're stripping all the buffs. Like the only way you can get through a team like this, if there was Black Cat, if there was Chavez, this would be a little bit sketchier, but it would still work. We take all the buffs away from everybody, right? Apocalypse stops at Safeguard because I don't have Empowered on my Ares. Ares takes all the buffs off. You see they have a bunch of buffs. That is the bridge giving them those buffs. Apparently the War Room rules apply after the passage from our character. I don't know why it works that way. I think it's stupid it works that way, but it is the way it works. And then from here, this is kind of on a budget team, right? I built up Red Hulk because he's an amazing plug and play with Apocalypse. I built up Apocalypse because he's freaking Apocalypse. And I built up Ares because if you're playing the game now, you need to build what's new. We're going to have kind of like an overarching mantra, recommendation, I don't know what you want to call for war when it comes to, you're not a veteran player, so what I'm talking about for the video for the most part isn't super applicable, but I don't want to leave you hanging because I'm doing the same thing you are on the other account. We'll have some advice on how to approach war, just to make sure you're successful and not overstretching your resources, which is the worst thing you can do. Anyway, that's it for Spider Society. Let's go talk about some other crawlers. Random spiders, random hero spiders, I should say, right? In particular, the Tangled Blood members. 29 can definitely make this. I don't have any footage of him, but he is definitely an interesting character that there's ways to counter, which we're going to talk about here. But once again, we're talking about super niche things. But let's what is this? Okay. Because they get the safeguard on spawn, the offense up, all that kind of crazy stuff. They're harder to control. They do insane damage out the gate, which is why a character like Noir can be plugged into, say, Heroes for Hire. And if you try to use War Dogs there, Noir might kill your whole freaking team before you take a turn. Or Noir with something like Hive Mind, where he can push somebody and all of a sudden the Hive Mind is popping off. Weaver, you put her with a team, if she is just able to survive because she has that safeguard, those deflects, all that kind of stuff, and she gets her charges up, it could be absolutely nightmarish. Well, there's a bunch of different teams you can pair them with. I got a whole bunch of examples here. So we're going to have Noir and Weaver here with the Secret Defenders. I'm hitting with Underworld. Once again, this is a luxury war team. You would never build Underworld at this point of the game, especially if you have them at level 1 like I do right now. But if you don't, this is a great solution, right? So we can get ability block up on that Weaver. She'll throw it over to the Hard Light, and then our Taskmaster is actually going to go before Noir, effectively putting the blind on everybody. Sorry, he goes after the Noir, rather. And then we get the blind on everybody, and we go from there. Nobu's already dead, right? This is kind of the power that these spiders can produce. If that had gone for the Taskmaster and he died, maybe this doesn't work as well as it did. Never lost this matchup, but just looking back at it now, I definitely don't love it. So that's kind of a idea of what they can bring. And that, I would say, we did a little bit on a budget. There's other different characters that you might see. So we have another Noir here. This is going to be with the Cabal team and Absorbed Man. Now, for my mid-game account, I don't have any of these teams. I don't have Underworld. I don't have Undying. So if you are not facing the creme de la creme in war, you can catch them off guard with teams like this, which is going to make them overcommit to beat you. You might see them start using Mercs for money here. You might start seeing them using Apocalypse here to get through these things, which gives more cover for your teams that you have on default defense, right? Like your Alpha Flight team, or maybe your Annihilators, whatever you have up there. It gives them more coverage, because if somebody underestimates the opening damage from the offense up Noir and they let a Iron Patriot take a special, that's done. But if you have a team like Underworld, this is pretty much an auto win. You're just going to be able to control them, absorb the damage because you have the pre-taunt, and go from there, and it's perfectly fine. Another powerful use for Weaver that we saw, and I guess Noir here as well, is going to be with the Hive Mind team. Now, New Avengers can tackle this, but you got to be very particular. This is an easy loss because we're taking a team that has summons. You know, Hive Mind could take advantage of that. But with Thing, if you do the targeting properly, you stun the Weaver, you kill the Red Goblin, you're off to the races. But there's even more kind of nuance to it, and that's going to come from the Coulson. So Coulson Ultimate is going to put a taunt on the enemy with the highest damage. In this case, I believe it would probably be the Void Knight, maybe the Noir after the rework. But a lot of people are going to kind of freak out, use the Coulson Ultimate. And if Red Goblin survives, and he starts killing minions, and he ults, and that protects the carnage and everything else, this matchup is a nightmare. If you play it properly like you saw here, then it's actually quite easy, but not everyone's going to play it perfectly like you saw there, which can be very messy. Another matchup which I almost lost, speaking of New Avengers, we put New Avengers on the defensive side now. We slap a Weaver with them. Normally, my 4-piece at a time, nearly 4 million power. I got the Agent Venom in there just to kind of buff up the Rebirth characters a little bit. This is normally a walk in the park, but with Weaver going before everybody, she gets those charges up, and all of a sudden, it's not so simple. So the Cosmic Ghost Rider would miss his special. Now, the way I have my team built is my Cosmic Ghost Rider is the highest damage, which means when Coulson, on the defensive side, calls the ult, that makes Ronan rewind my Cosmic Ghost Rider, so I get to go after every other character on the at-a-time team. Normally, Agent Venom survives this, and I'm able to use him to go before as well, so I could special Captain America here. Not going to be the case, so I have to use the basics. So these are things that adding Weaver in makes you have to be so mindful of, and if you're not mindful of this, it is an absolute nightmare. So I end up using the Captain America basic here. I hit with the Peggy and the Starneck, also using their basics. And then my Cosmic Ghost Rider is no longer stuck behind charges on Weaver, gets to do his special, and that's going to completely kill the Tigra. In this matchup, if you don't kill the Tigra in time, and all of a sudden your Cosmic Ghost Rider passive is not available, you could easily die to Tigra. Her ultimate, putting the trauma on you, absolutely just demolishing you with the damage and the bleeds. That's horrendous. So that's how you can outplay it, is by having your team built a certain way. Otherwise, this might catch people off guard and get you a really, really scary L. And that's going to be all I want to show for the random spiders, guys. I don't know how long this war season of spiders is going to last, but there's definitely a lot more playing around, even this late into the season, left for these guys. And it's going to be these three main targets here, and Void Knight, actually, and Void Knight, that still have a lot of life to play around with. So make sure you play around with them, and hey, if you have any really cool spider defense teams, or you know of any cool ways to beat problematic spider defense teams, let us know in the comment section below, please. And Cosmic Ghost Rider coming in as just maybe the strongest plug-and-play defensive character in War right now. His passive, where he is, I forget if he's giving 5,000% resistance or taking 5,000% focus from the enemy, but he's doing one of those, which basically means, like, the first calculation you make in a matchup is, do I get to go first? Can I control them or kill them before they take a turn? Cosmic Ghost Rider, whenever somebody does their ultimate, giving barrier to his team. So that's the protection against the death. And then he's taking away the focus or giving the resistance, whichever it is, which is stopping the control. He is a nightmare character, and he can transform a B tier team, like, say, Extreme, into something that requires a niche team again, like Nowhere. Because if you don't take in a team like Nowhere, you're going to go nowhere. If you go in here with a team like, I don't know, Underworld or possibly War Dogs, like, you're not going to get anywhere because you're not going to land anything. Even Nova, who I believe has, what, 3,000% extra focus because of the 3 charges, he doesn't land anything here. We get stuck behind the Rogue. All of a sudden, the Forge buffs goes off. Nightcrawler damage is coming in. Not to mention the Cosmic Ghost Rider special. If we didn't have Safeguard here on a team like Nowhere, all of our buffs get flipped and we are bleeding the frick out, or we're getting hit by Gambit into defense down, no immunity. We're getting ability blocked. We're getting bled. It's a nightmare. And that's the kind of thing that Cosmic Ghost Rider can bring to bear. Even the Nowhere team didn't feel super safe, except my Nova didn't get focused down too much, to the point where Korg still got to take his first turn before Nova's second. So Korg is able to give offense up to my Nova when he does his special here in a second. And then here it comes right now. Boom, boom, boom. And then Nova Ultimate is actually going to one-shot that Cosmic Ghost Rider, but I have a giant Nova. 3 diamonds on him, Crimson Gear, the whole shebang. I take out the Cosmic Ghost Rider, but if I didn't, then Cosmic Ghost Rider is also going to erase my battlefield effect, right? So you can get into some really hot water just by what Cosmic Ghost Rider does on the opening, but it's more than that. If you pair Cosmic Ghost Rider with, say, Black Knight and maybe the Hive Mind team, we've seen a lot of Hive Mind lately, he's going to stop the enemy from controlling your Hive Mind. Black Knight smashing away at the opponents fuels the Hive Mind speed, and that can become a problem. The team you see me use now, Apocalypse with Nowhere. To have to use Apocalypse on a match like this, if you obviously here, Ares would crush this, by the way. Ares would take all the buffs away, no more charges, it'd be very easy. That's not a problem. Especially if you have the empowered Ares to stop the Void Knight too. But if you have to budget those type of characters for this, it really protects your other rooms, which is fantastic. And also, we saw a lot of people lose this matchup, to be real with you. If the Carnage goes for the Apocalypse and that extra damage happens, and then Black Knight hits Apocalypse after Apocalypse does his ultimate, we saw Apocalypse die before he was able to activate his Falcon Punch. And when that happens, you lose. Apocalypse dies, he doesn't get to kill the Black Knight, all of a sudden Hive Mind is on the move, it's over for you. The snowball is really real. And that's the kind of thing Cosmic Ghost Rider's passive does. Obviously, Black Knight does a lot of lifting there too. but look to use Cosmic Ghost Rider in a bunch of teams that people haven't experimented with yet. Think about like Annihilators. Heck, think about Alpha Flight. Think about stuff like that where we're able to get through those teams because we're able to control them out the gate, or well, not with Alpha Flight actually. Alpha Flight would be a horrible team. With slow teams that we're able to beat because we control them off the gate. I'm going to be very interested to know if you guys have any really powerful Cosmic Ghost Rider defensive style teams you've been playing around with, or if you've seen anything that gave you a really big headache. Once again, let me know in the comment section below, because I think his potential over here, sorry, wrong point. His potential has not been realized yet. Last but certainly not least, we got to talk about the Mephisto options, because here's the thing, guys. There's a couple Mephisto teams that can be one-shot, particularly if you start pairing some really powerful characters with your Mercs for money. Make no mistake, you are at least looking at using Mercs for money here. The problem being, Mephisto still stops the revives. So it's not like Old Man Logan is going to keep himself alive forever, right? Some of the most powerful teams we see is going to be with the Annihilators, maybe Annihilators and Skrull with Mephisto. So we've seen a lot of powerful variations there. Or, similar to the team we just saw, instead of Cosmic Ghost Rider, you slap in Mephisto there, so you have Black Knight, Hive Mind with Mephisto. Those two teams give Mercs for money a really hard time. And there's one character in particular that you can throw in with Mercs for money that can get it done against some versions of it, but it's not super safe. And not against the Hive Mind, actually. The Hive Mind one is actually harder to one-shot than the Annihilator is, because Black Knight is just that guy. So I get asked this question a lot, like, how do we deal with Mephisto in war? It's the same way we deal with it in Crucible. One-shotting Mephisto is really hard to do. It used to be if you have your own Mephisto, you pair him with Annihilators, you can kind of get it done, and then as more people got Annihilators and they started getting higher stars, that quickly became an RNG fest that you did not want to partake in, okay? Especially with Thanos Endgame being added to the mix. So, the safest thing to do is going to be to do 2 burn attacks. If you're facing off against the Annihilators, I personally really prefer the Gamma as a cleanup. So you see we got 2 exhaust stacks here. And then what can happen here is if Thanos gets pushed here, that's actually the best case scenario. Because although the Gamma team can't get defense up, they just get a baseline damage reduction. I believe it's, what, 60% or so? So the Thanos passive doesn't hit you nearly as hard as does other teams. Like if you try and clean this up with, say, like War Dogs, that's going to end really poorly for you because you're going to get trucked. But here, looks like the player here did the special with the Brawn of turn 1. I would have definitely done the ultimate onto the Gladiator with the Brawn, but we're still able to just power through it. That passive from a Red Hulk getting the energy, then ulting, comes into play, and then from there you get it done. 2 best burn teams for this, guys. You gotta burn the Mephisto ultimate. If you walk into this and Mephisto still uses ultimate, you are in a bad spot. You saw the Mephisto basic damage onto Red Hulk nearly took away 50% of his life. If that ult is hitting everybody, you are putting yourself in a bad position. So look to use very powerful teams to do burn attacks, or the same sort of teams we use in Crucible, right? Invaders, Infinity Watch. It's not hard to burn the Mephisto ultimate regardless of what enemy team you're facing up against. So just make sure you get that done. The other team that we're talking about, Black Knight with Hive Mind and Mephisto, that's easier to clean up. So the Annihilator team, open to the one-shot. Hive Mind team, not open to the one-shot, but easier to clean up. If you see the Hive Mind team, or basically any team that doesn't have Endgame Thanos on it with Mephisto, you can clean it up with a multitude of teams, with Nowhere, Gamma, or even if you're feeling super froggy, War Dogs. Yeah, so with the 2 stacks of exhaust and with Mephisto on the field, War Dogs can get this done. You just go right for the Void Knight, right? You get past the Black Knight pretty easily with Nakia. Even if you don't, you can just kill the Black Knight and then get onto the Void Knight. But because Mephisto exists, although Red Goblin's dead, if he wasn't dead, he's still not reviving anybody because Mephisto's on the field, right? So after 2 burn attacks, they lose a lot of their power and you can go from there. And that is the general advice for Mephisto teams. Unless you have a very specific team that you're facing with Mephisto, and you have the very specific counter that's needed, which is probably going to include your own Mephisto, or a really powerful Mercs for money with a really powerful plug-and-play character added to the mix, do 2 burn attacks. It's the smart thing to do. Don't waste your attacks trying to one-shot it and then backing out find your 2 burn attacks, make sure you're buying your energy from the Blitz store, and just accept that's the way it's going to be. It's probably the way Scopely wants it to be, so that they get people, you know, coring the Blitz store to buy those tickets so that they can actually keep up with their attacks. Speaking of keeping up, I told you earlier on in the video I'd be giving you just general advice for like mid-game war, and that's what we're going to do right now. War is super fun. Playing the game with your alliance as an alliance, which is something you don't really get to, like raids, you're kind of doing your attacks on your own, but war, you know, you're waiting for your friend to attack so they release a team for you. You might be in Discord chatting it up, whatever. This is where you're most connected with your alliance mates. Unfortunately, there is a really set cap on war. If you are a newer player, like I started my mid-game account in October 2023, I have not sniffed or looked at Undying, Underworld, A-Force, the Sinister Six older members, God, Gamma. I haven't built up Gamma. Like, those war teams, you simply don't get enough resources to do it. And so to try and chase war and say you want to try and be competitive in war and you want to push for the top 8 elo in each war zone and push for the top 1 spot, it's not realistic. It's not meant for you. Which is a shitty thing to say. At least Crucible, it moves a lot faster. You only need 6 teams instead of 10. It's like basically whatever's newest team, it just kind of comes into the mix and goes. But war teams, they last so much longer. Underworld is an old team. Gamma's an old team. These guys are starting to reach Weapon X, just kind of getting revitalized. Like, should you build Weapon X? Because you had to build up Wolverine and you had to build Late Deathstrike for the rework teams. So they'll build up 3 other characters. Unless you're spending a lot of money, war is just not for you right now. Luckily, I don't think the game's going anywhere. So just do what you should do for the overall health of your account. And that is, honestly, build whatever's new. Yes, that's a controversial thing to say because I know a lot of people now are spouting, we're just not going to unlock new characters. It's not going to be the case. You're eventually going to unlock the new characters. Like, I don't think I'm going to unlock Nimrod for the next 30 to 60 days. But when I do, I'm going to have 30 million gold ready for him. And I'm going to sprinkle that gold into him. He's going to be max. And guess what? I'll be using Nimrod wherever I can in Crucible and in War. And when the Night Stalker team comes out, it'll be the same thing. I'm going to be patient with it on my mid-game account. Because if you don't spend money, that's the only way to play the game without building super wide and only having half-built projects that aren't going to function anyway. It's the unfortunate truth about War is that the investment to really benefit from the enjoyment of war, it's big. It's really big. But you'll get there eventually. And what you should do is, like my early alliance, we're pushing Diamond, which is crazy. I don't know how, but we're pushing through Diamond. We're in the top bracket of Platinum right now. And we have like 75% of our teams are shield operatives. I tell my guys everything on offense. I want you to have 12 of your strongest teams on offense. And it's only when you get your 13th team, throw that on defense. Your 14th team, throw one of your worst teams on defense and keep whatever's the best team. Always keep whatever's the best. And enjoy war for what it is. Dirty, messy, and honestly, you win more by participating than you do by having the right teams. But if you got some of these teams I talked about for the defensive side, you're going to be a nightmare for opponents like my mid-game account or for people that don't have those older teams built up. And that's how you can really dominate in war. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you leave it a like, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel. Everything really, really helps, and I appreciate it very much. If you want to see some mid-game and end-game war, make sure you keep up with the gameplay videos I post. Tomorrow I'll be posting the full video where a lot of this footage came from up against Super Troopers. This is Kraken War versus Kraken War. I think it's very interesting. It's very scary. It's very stressful. And that makes it a lot of fun. But for now, from me to you guys, stay happy, stay healthy, and have fun. Use those promo codes. Promo code ASSEMBLE and promo code DREAM for a bunch of goodies. Get it while the getting's good. And I'll talk to you later. Bye for now. That's it for the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Stay happy, healthy, have fun, and I'll see you in the next one.